Geek Out!
Hey, and welcome to another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jake.
And this week we've got an interview with Peter Milligan and Leandro Fernandez about their Image comic series, The Discipline, coming out. It's got the first volume, which collects the first 6 issues, is out in comic book shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, October 5th. We talked to both of them about the book. Leandro has done like art for The Punisher and that sort of thing. Peter Milligan, very prolific comic book writer. He was the he did Animal Man after Morrison. He's he's done Ecstatics. He's done he closed out Hellblazer.
Yeah,
which we talk about.
We wedge in Judge Dredd as always. We find a way.
Yeah, even though he's written like
just really one.
Yeah.
But I mean, he worked with 2000 AD
quite a bit with 2000 AD.
Judge Anderson, Rogue Trooper, everybody.
As we've learned with this show, Jake finds a way.
I'll find a way.
Yeah, and let's find a way to get that interview to your ears right now. And joining us this week, we've got Peter Milligan and Leandro Fernandez talking about their Image comic series, The Discipline, which comes out in comic book shops everywhere and on Comixology on Wednesday, October 5th. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Hello. Thank you for calling.
No problem at all. So let's go ahead and get let's start at the beginning. So this is this kind of supernatural, psychosexual kind of story. How did this all kind of come about?
I have to say, I confess, it came about through my imagination. I've been quite obsessed by or interested in the ideas behind the discipline for some time. When I was younger, I was on the fringes of this group who I suspected were dealing with sex and drugs and other really weird stuff. And I got a flavour of it without ever being fully enmeshed in it. And since then, I've often let my imagination run wild and wondered exactly what was going on there. And through comics, initially through The Extremist, which I wrote a number of years ago for Vertigo, and now even more elaborately with The Discipline, I've explored these imaginings. And The Discipline is a story about metamorphosis, and it's a story where sex is important, but sex isn't the end game, where sex is really one of the instruments of change or metamorphosis, if you will. That Discipline concerns a young woman who lives what seems to be the high life and a perfect life in Manhattan, but she's emotionally and sexually frustrated, and she goes to a little excitement, and she finds a lot more than she could possibly have bargained for.
Mm. Now, was this something that had kind of come about while you were writing? Because the closest thing that I could see with your previous bibliography, Peter, was perhaps Hellblazer, which similarly dealt with the occult. Though I feel like, obviously John Constantine is a very sexual being in his own right, but there wasn't that much there. Was this idea something that cropped up while you were writing Hellblazer?
No, I have to say not. I have to say that they're quite different in my mind and quite distinct. John Constantine was Constantine and Hellblazer was Hellblazer. He dealt with the occult, but his kind of particular kind of bad luck magic. Whereas this, I think, there is magical elements in The Discipline for sure, but there's supernatural elements for sure. I wouldn't go as far as to say it's necessarily magical, but there are certainly some superhuman elements which takes us into areas which a normal kind of sexual thriller might not take you. So I think that there is, even though there is magic in it, it's handled in a completely different way from a Hellblazer.
Mm. Now, Leandro, of course, you had previously worked, extensively with Marvel Comics. You had done Punisher Max with Garth Ennis and everything. This is, I feel like, a completely different set of visual, skills that you're employing here. How was it kind of, developing the Discipline and the Stalkers and all that sort of thing?
Well, in fact, we made with Peter, I wouldn't say before, but it will be like in the middle. We've developed the book, The Names, for Vertigo, which actually had a lot of sex. And I wouldn't say a lot of sex, but there is sex. Maybe in a more subtle appearance, but it touches some certain sides of sex. I say that this wasn't before exactly The Discipline, because The Discipline, this is the second chance it's being published, because the first time it was supposed to be published by Vertigo, and it got cancelled. So then we did. We had a couple of issues done. Then we started with done the names, and finally we could done it at Image, and we developed it. From my point of view, it was something in a certain way kind of new, because I'm exploring new sides of the world, telling stories, and at the same time, I feel very comfortable doing this. I feel very comfortable working with Peter, so I got all the elements necessary to be able to do my best working. I'm enjoying this. I'm having fun doing this. I hope it can be seen on the pages, because it certainly takes me to places that I feel comfortable being in. I don't know. It's something that goes naturally. It just comes out, and at the same time, I take my time to experiment a little bit. So I hope it's as fun as I feel it is for me.
You know, you had mentioned you're very comfortable this within your style. There is a kind of very pronounced noir style throughout the entire book, despite the supernatural, elements. And certainly it's there in the visuals, it's there in the, in the writing, this kind of like almost like nihilistic look at humanity that's omnipresent in noir. Was that something that had been there and it was intentional since the Vertigo days?
Well, I'm not sure if it's quite nihilistic. I think what it doesn't offer is easy answers. I think there's an ambiguity, a moral ambiguity about this, about the story that comes through, whereas normally in these stories, they're the good guys, they're the good aliens, or the good magicians and the bad magicians. And even though on the face of it, the stalkers are the bad guys and are pretty wretched, evil creatures, and they do terrible things, there is kind of more nuanced than that. And even the council of the discipline, who is the discipline is this group that Melissa finds herself slowly getting dragged into as she herself undergoes this remarkable change. And she gets dragged into this society or group, for want of a better word. And even though on the face of it they seem to be the good guys, in inverted commas, it's more nuanced than that, and it's more ambiguous than that. We wanted to do this, I think, because it's more truthful. The book is an attempt to be very truthful about this kind of story, which is why the sex is handled in a very adult way. It's handled, there are no screens, it's not coy. We see naked bodies. I hasten to add, we see naked men and women, so it's not some kind of pornographic, masturbatory magazine for the boys. It's for the boys or for the girls. It's for either.
Equal opportunity.
That's right.
It's an equal opportunity nudist comment. Well, yeah, we just thought this is a story where sex is important. It isn't about sex, but sex is a really important aspect of Melissa's journey. And not to show it in as shocking and as strange light as she herself is experiencing it, it's missing the point. It's not being really mature, it's not being adult, and you're just missing the shock. So you lose some of the visceral aspect of the story, which Melissa is feeling. And surely a story like this, what is fantastic about comics, what's so great about comics, is that you can really have that visceral feel of a character and what she or he is experiencing. And I think that by really putting the curtains aside and letting the camera follow them into the bedroom or into the strange sex club and seeing it as it really happens, I think that way we really have a truly adult comic. I think Leo was talking about how he was feeling very comfortable with the drawings. I've looked at the book, and I think that some people will find this book disturbing, and some people do find this book disturbing, and it is a disturbing book. But I think one thing which gives it its oddness and its greatness is that I think the way Leo renders the light falling between the buildings in Manhattan, or the way the light falls across the street in Midtown, with the same loving detail and attention as you might do the same light falling across a naked body of a woman or a man. I think this gives it the strange kind of episode. The whole world and the whole comic is in some strange way eroticized or full of, if you like, erotic potential.
Yeah, I wanted to add a little thing that in this kind of books that are meant to be for adult people, I mean, we are not trying to go to the easiest side of it. I try to find what to show what I find attractive, what I find erotic, without being strictly something like that. I mean, sometimes it's better to hide than to show, and you find sexuality in things that aren't per se sexual things. I mean, there is the whole situation, the way that it has to be shown, what it becomes this a book for adult people. I mean, this is not about being a pornographic book, or it doesn't mean to be something like that, or an easy reading for an aspect of that. I mean, we're trying to go a little further than that. I mean, in terms of what are we telling? I mean, the sex scenes are meant to be more reality linked, in the sense of what can be sexy or not. I mean, it's not only about naked bodies. It's much more than that.
Something that I was always very curious about with this story is, I mean, Melissa sees a lot of red flags pretty early on with like Orlando and everything, and she still allows herself to kind of be, seduced or, entranced by the discipline. Would you say that was just, from a kind of, creator standpoint, was that just her sexual frustration and lassitude with her daily life running that deep, or was there kind of was there supernatural elements at play that had already ensnared her?
Well, we do discover that that the sex act in this story itself is part of, if you like, one big hyper magical ritual, if you want to use the word magical. But I think even more than that, I think that one can say that she was seduced by the discipline and by Orlando. But I think she's, if you like, a willing seducee. It's so much so. I mean, she makes quite a lot of the running. I think that she is a conscious participant in this strange sexual dance that's happening. And I wanted it to be clear to her, because I didn't want an idea that she's somehow duped, or some I don't know, some woman who's not really seeing the wood for the trees, and who unwittingly finds herself being embroiled in this thing. She does make conscious steps towards it at every time. And it's like she makes these conscious steps, and once she's made one conscious step towards this thing, it's harder and harder for her to extricate herself from it. Partly because she doesn't want to extricate herself from it. Partly because she herself is changing. So is that magical? Yeah, it's kind of magical. But I guess the whole sexual act and the whole act of two people falling in love or falling in lust, there's a kind of strange evolutionary magic going on there anyway.
Now, Peter, one thing that we've kind of has become like a reoccurring thing on this podcast, kind of almost by accident, but a happy accident, is Judge Dredd.
Whenever we have somebody...
We just happen to always come back to Judge Dredd, which we all love and I'm a huge fan of. But a great thing about looking back at your work is that you worked a lot with 2000 AD and obviously not just Judge Dredd. And I think here in America, a lot of people aren't as knowledgeable of 2000 AD, which is a shame, and they think that it's mostly just Judge Dredd.
A lot of people here, for whatever reason, think he's an American character.
Yeah, and so I was wondering if you could just kind of talk a little bit about your work with 2000 AD and not just Judge Dredd.
Rogue Trooper and all.
2000 AD is an amazing comic, and it's like a British institution.
Mm-hmm.
In some ways, it is the British comic industry, and people might be surprised in America just how many writers and artists, particularly those writers of the so-called British invasion, how many British writers and artists cut their teeth doing comics, whether Judge Dredd or Future Shocks or other stories in 2000 AD. Everyone from Alan Moore, myself, Grant, Brian Bolland, these people they cut their teeth writing comics for 2000 AD. So I think that, for one, it has a real place in the history of American comics and British comics. And yes, Judge Dredd obviously is his main vehicle, his main story. But there are lots of other really interesting stories that go on in 2000 AD. I mean, the one I'm most famous for, I guess, is Bad Company, which is kind of a future war story, which first storyline was a kind of a rehash of the Vietnam War or Heart of Darkness, but kind of set on a kind of an alien planet, and it was kind of the horrors of war kind of story, but it got a lot of traction. People still really love that, and I've recently just done a revisit of the characters 10 years on. But there's lots of other really amazing stuff from 2000 AD, so it's really worth checking out the comic. I'm pitching 2000 AD here, but really worth
go ahead.
checking. It's really worth. Even though Judge Dredd is great, there's a lot more than just Judge Dredd in 2000 AD.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was one of the, I worked at a comic shop a couple years ago. One of the great things was when the film Dredd came out and, there was kind of a surge over here of Judge Dredd interest. One of the great things was introducing to a book like 2000 AD and like Rogue Trooper and all these other characters and being, kind of discovering this whole new world. So yeah, I'm glad to see that 2000 AD is becoming more of a thing over here in the U.S. If it's something as simple as the 2000 AD app on your phone, you can get the books digitally here.
Absolutely, yeah.
So yeah, no,
I don't know if you agree with me, but it's a different feel from American comics.
Oh, 100%.
It's kind of British oddness about a lot of the stuff in 2000 AD.
That's what I love so much about it. There's this dark humor that just isn't, and this isn't a slight on American comics, but it is a very different feel, and I think that comes from the British kind of style, or just like you were saying, all these. If you look back, like you were saying, at all the different writers and artists that have worked there, it's astounding. It's almost like like this comic school that all these guys come from. It's really something special.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think it's about it being better. I think it's just different, and I think it complements really interestingly the American school. And I think that obviously the American or the British school of comics merged so much because so many British people, including myself, spend most of their career working for America. That the idea of a British writer or a British school of comics or American, it kind of merges a bit because of language and culture, but 2000 AD does retain a British sense of culture. I think partly it's the British experience coming out of, I don't know, whatever's different about Britain from America. It's smaller, it's whatever. It goes into making some really distinct kind of stories and really worth checking out. And there's some really bizarre stuff in there.
Absolutely. Now, Leandro, we've had Max Fumata from Four Eyes. We've had Mateus Bergara from Uruguay, and he does
Uruguay.
He does Cannibal. They always kind of cite a lot of European artists for their influences, and I kind of get that vibe also with the discipline. What are some of your artistic influences?
Well, actually, I don't like too much to talk about the influences. In fact, because I understand influences like the people I've took as reference when I was at the stage of learning of my first stage, which was in fact a long time ago. So what happens when I was asking about, I am asked about that, is that I forget a lot of people. So I prefer to answer the question about the origins of most of South American artists. That there used to be a big industry here, above all in Argentina, of comics. That it comes from the years from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, and on, where a lot of artists used to make their own creations here. And certain way, me and most of the people of my generation had the lack of growing up reading these books, which was something I would say unique in terms of style, even if it was related in some terms with part of the European schools of comics, if we call them like that. But with Italian, Spanish, with Croatian artists. So there was a lot of that here, and I had liked to see that a lot. Regarding to my references, I prefer like to talk right now at this moment. The way I look at my work, what I find inspirational from now on, because honestly, it has been a lot of years since I've started. So it is maybe more interesting how I find inspiration right now, that I do it not only watching graphical things like movies, when I could see that the way the shots are taken, the photography, the lights, everything, by watching another things like paintings, like drawings, artists that don't make comics at all, but or artists that make art, conceptual art, modern art. Even the music inspires me in some way, and even traveling. I try to put my mind in a different state, to think differently all the time, so my art can evolve and I can make my art more personally. I don't know if this answers your question, because I've changed it a little bit, but it is what I find more interesting right now to tell from my perspective.
Well, I mean, yeah, your style on the Discipline is so much different than the style that you had employed with the Punisher Max, and to kind of speak to your point, I studied abroad in Buenos Aires when I was in graduate school, and I was very struck by how much Italian and French influence there was just in the very architecture of the entire city. So yeah.
You can see a lot of that not only in the city, but in the culture too. I mean, for example, I don't live in Buenos Aires. I live in closer to Rosario, which is a smaller city, even if it's a big city. But there is a lot of influence from Europe here, and above all from Italy and Spain. And you can see that not only in the architecture or the traditions, but even in the sense of humor, the way we speak, the culture itself is very influenced by that part of Europe.
Now, Peter, I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up, but I That's the most ominous response.
I should talk to my lawyer first.
I just gotta ask how. I mean, Hellblazer is basically that and Swamp Thing are the books and Animal Man that launched Vertigo. How was it closing out that run of Alan Moore's original creation?
Yeah, well, I guess there's two ways of looking at it. The positive way is that I had the esteemed honor of midwifing this comic book to its end, if you like, and being the one who had the honor to finish this book. The other way I've looked at it is I was the bastard who killed Hellblazer off. So I guess there's two ways of looking at it. I prefer to see it that I was the one who had, I was the one who was holding the baton at the very end. It could have been anyone, I think. I had a feeling a number of things happened that made me think that there was a chance the Hellblazer, in this incantation at least for now, would be coming to an end. So I kind of wasn't surprised, and I kind of had this out story in my head that I wanted to do for a while, and even though I had other ideas I wanted to explore in Hellblazer, because I still think Constantine's a fantastic character, and he's just so unique in comics. This grumpy British guy who he's not really that much good at magic, and he kind of messes things up, and he's kind of a bit of a bastard, but he's not really a bastard. And I think he's he's just a kind of unique character in comic books. And I had lots of other ideas I was really happy to kind of explore. But when I was told that they're bringing the thing to a close, I wasn't super surprised. And I had this story I wanted to out with, which was his return to his spiritual home of Liverpool.
Now, gentlemen, something we ask everybody that comes on the show: what are you guys currently geeking out over? What are you enjoying? ¿Qué está disfrutando?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Yeah. Oh man, I even. What are you guys currently enjoying? What are you currently watching or listening to or reading that you guys are really digging right now?
You mean in general?
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter?
Well, look, I in terms of reading, I'm really digging at the moment. There's this British writer called Tom McCarthy, who writes these very strange, almost like non-novels. He's an artist and a writer, and he writes some really strange things. So I'm basically going through his entire oeuvre at the moment. When you find a writer, you think this is really interesting. I'll read everything he's written. So I'm in that process at the moment. So that's quite interesting. I'm also learning German at the moment. So I'm kind of struggling over strange adjective endings and prepositions and modal verbs. So that's keeping my brain fairly active, as well as obviously writing comic books and doing some writing outside of comic books. Yeah. I don't know if that answers the question.
Sorry? Yeah.
I don't know if that answers the question.
I think that gets it. And those declensions in different cases will get you every time with the German language.
Well, I mean, it's kind of great, but like every time you think, I go with this class, every time you think, I'm getting a grip of this language, you'll find this is whole other thing that is kind of like you have to kind of struggle with. Yeah. But it's fantastic and it's amazing, man. I really like it. But it's a new language. There's so many words and there's so much to learn. But apparently, and this is slightly maudlin. Apparently, if you have a stroke and you speak a second language, quite often, if you have a stroke and you lose the ability to speak, quite often if you speak a second language, your brain is able to access that second language. So, not that I'm planning to have a stroke anytime soon, but it's quite an interesting secondary reason for learning another language.
That's fascinating.
I did not know that. I guess I'm safe.
So if ever you interview me in the future, I speak in German. Buddy, I'm in trouble.
Yeah. We'll send gift baskets and everything. But yeah, Leandro, what are you enjoying?
Right now at this moment, I'm reading. I like to read a lot, and usually I have 4 or 5 books on my bed table that I alternate my reading with. One of the books I'm enjoying right now is Fossil Angels. This is an essay of Alan Moore, which explain a little bit about the world of the magic that I don't know too much about that. Very interesting. And I'm reading another essays of Chronics of Troubles from an Argentinian writer, Martin Caparrós, and some reading. I always read some old comic books, several things, books about ships sailing, a lot of things. Besides, I try to get some TV series. Right now, I'm just finished a couple, so I'm looking for someone to watch. So I'll see what can I find.
Now, just to kind of close this out, gentlemen, I mean, there hasn't been a solicitation for issue 7 of the Discipline. I mean, I know that the first story arc just closed out this month, but when can we, hopefully expect to see a return? And without giving the game away, what would a second story arc or issue 7 entail?
Well, we're always intending the Discipline to be one of those constant but story arcs, but where there'll be gaps in between them, which gives us time to really think and gestate, but also for the audience to really want it again, We're talking. I'm mapping out the second arc as we speak, and it will follow Melissa while getting even deeper into the world of the discipline, and the, if you like, the world of the discipline and the stalkers will be explored more fully, and also how it impacts upon the real world, and just what happens when this strange world, which has until now been kept fairly hidden and fairly sub rosa, what happens when that starts to seep into public consciousness? I mean, up until now, these guys have been able to, the discipline mainly, have been able to keep all this stuff fairly under wraps, because they want to keep this huge kind of like battle that's going on out of the public eye. Well, until now, they've been able to do that. Of course, but things are very different now because of social media, because of conspiracy nuts, because of all these people that are kind of interested in stuff that's going on. So I'm going to explore that side of the mythos. What happens when someone starts looking to history and start looking through some strange stuff and starts, if you like, noticing this odd, unexplained stuff, which doesn't seem to make much sense. What happens when that person starts to, or people start to put two and two together and starts to edge closer to an understanding of these strange organizations with the stalkers and the disciplines? And so I explore that notion a little bit, as well as following Melissa's journey deeper into the heart of the discipline.
And you kind of hinted as much, but are we going to see more of, I love that, again, without giving the game away, there was that one very influential stalker. We see him kind of through these key pivotal moments in history with these key historical figures. Can we expect a little more of that in the second arc?
Yeah, I have to say, I really liked the historical bit when we went back to Caesar. And I also liked the stalker Lothario, whose main power, if you like, was basically the gift of the gab, as they say in Ireland. Was he had this mellifluous voice, and he could charm the birds from the trees, and he could seduce people with the tone, the beautiful honey-toned timbre of his voice, and the words he chose, and he quoted Dante and Goethe, and he was just wonderful. And I really like that because it really does nuance the stalkers. They're not these beasts. They have other sides, and they have, if you like, more insidious sides to them and more dangerous sides to them. I really want to explore that side of the stalker, and that you could be you could be married to a stalker, or maybe not.
I mean, I've seen some married couples. Who knows?
Jury's out. I was just making sure my wife is out downstairs.
Well, do you gentlemen have anything else you want to plug or promote before we sign off?
Well, first of all, I just want to kind of stress that that people, you probably heard a lot about the discipline and how shocking it is, and how sexual it is. I really think that read this book and make your own mind up. It is dark. It's one of the darkest, the most shocking and sexually explicit books you're likely to read from a mainstream comic company. But it's worth it, and nothing is there just for kind of like pornographic sake. It's a really strange, weird ride, but I think it's massively worth it. Another story that I'm writing at the moment that I'm really excited about is through Valiant, and that comes out on the 21st of September. That's called Britannia. And it's kind of like Gladiator meets Aliens by way of Philip Marlowe, and it's about the world's first detective, and he lives in ancient Rome, and he sort of loves Rome in the time of Emperor Nero, and there are some strange things happening on the wild northern borders, which is Britannia, which is obviously where I live, and some strange creatures have been seen, and some of these legionnaires are being killed, and our hero, this detective in ancient Rome, is sent to Britannia to find out what's going on, and this is called Britannia, and the artwork is beautiful. I forget the name of the artist. It's really amiss of me, but it's fantastic, and I'm really excited about that story.
Well, I'm working on a book with Greg Rucka called The Old Guard that has been announced this week. It's about a group of immortal warriors. They are fighting together since a lot of years ago, and how they make the group together, and is set place on the actual days. So there are some flashbacks to the ancient times, and that's it. Well, this is coming out in February, I think, and will be published by Image too.
What's it like working with Greg again? I mean, you had previously worked with him on Queen and Country.
Yeah, we've done a couple of books together. We've done Queen and Country, and we've done a Wolverine book right after that one. And it's great. I mean, I haven't been working with him like a lot of years. A lot of water has came past under the bridge since then. But yeah, it's great. I mean, it's a very visual story, so I have a lot of fun doing that too. And it's going to be a mature reader's book either. So I hope people that it's with the discipline attached, they can be approaching to this too, because it's an interesting reading too for adult people.
Excellent. Well, looking forward to that. And gentlemen, again, the Discipline is out in comic book shops everywhere, and Comixology on Wednesday, October 5th. Be sure to pick it up. And gentlemen, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank
Adios.
Lovely gentlemen. That's our second Argentine artist we've had.
Yeah.
Third South American artist, Peter Milligan. I don't know how many Brits we've had on the show at this point.
I've lost count.
Well,
lots.
2 recently at least.
Yes.
I mean, obviously we've had more than 2.
I think Anthony Johnson was the first one.
I feel like that's right.
Yeah, and then anyway, and we've got I've got some other stuff cooking with other Brits. Cooking with Brits.
Oh, Britannia.
It's just a lot of bland, like,
I hear that at
meat
work
products.
every day.
There's people shit on English cuisine. There's some good stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever had like legit. Like,
you used
English
to work at an
cuisine.
Irish pub,
Yeah, that's
which
Irish.
is Irish. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I also
I
ate,
agree. There's some good.
I also ate the hamburgers there.
Right. And the chicken tenders.
Yes.
Could I have your finest chicken tenders?
Top shelf chicken tenders.
Yes, I remember when we went to, there was, right outside D.C., I think it was in Arlington, there used to be this place called New Orleans Steakhouse. It was this really fancy fucking steakhouse. Eventually it burned down. But anyway,
Even the flames on the building are top-notch fancy.
impeccable. But my parents, whenever we went there, they wouldn't let me order like hot dogs or chicken tenders. They're like, we're at a steakhouse.
Yeah.
Get a steak.
My dad once gave me the stink eye when we went to a Red Lobster because I really wanted to go to a Red Lobster.
Yeah.
And then I ordered the hamburger.
Oh yeah, dude. For the longest time, I love like crab and crab cakes now, and I'll eat shrimp here and there. But back when I was younger, I wouldn't touch seafood. I just didn't like it. And so we'd go to Red Lobster all the time for like the cheddar, biscuits, and then I would get the chicken. And anytime we go to a seafood place, so we went to a place like right off the ocean, like once, where when I went with my buddies with his family on a field trip, and I ordered like a hamburger as well. Like they were just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, you go for the Cheddar Bay biscuits.
Oh, those are good.
Yeah, just like you go to Olive Garden for the breadsticks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah,
with Alfredo sauce.
Of course. But yeah, check out The Discipline again out in comic book shops everywhere Wednesday, October 5th. Thanks again to Peter Milligan, Leandro Fernandez. You guys do anything cool this Labor Day weekend?
I went to Baltimore Comic-Con for one day, which was Sunday, which was fantastic because all the shit was like more than half off.
Yeah.
Yeah, at that point, yeah.
For example, a little while ago, I bought my dad for $30 the first issue of Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
He got all 12 near mint for $50.
Whoa!
I got, I was just like in full Miller mode, just everything Frank Miller.
Mm-hmm.
And so
It's Miller time!
it's Miller time. That'll be the next podcast. Help, Frank Miller. Rules the world. Holy Terror is a fucking wreck. But I love the art on that book, for real. Like, one of my favorite pages he's ever done is in Holy Terror, by the way. Anyway.
Holy Terror!
Yeah. So, for example, I'm wearing the infamous Batman, or the infamous Superman shirt where he drew his dick. Mostly because
Super donger.
at the end of the day, I went to the T-shirt tower. And I'll rewind to whatever, like who we met and stuff. But like, I was like, I have to go to the T-shirt tower. I want to get like the fat, constipated, squeezing Batman, Fat Bat from issue 2 of The Dark Knight Returns. So of course I had that. And I was like, yes. So I grabbed that, and I was like, I was like, Superman. Do they have any like Frank Miller-esque Daredevil shirts? And then any Judge Dredd? And while I was looking for the Superman one, like, you know, those T-shirt towers, like they're all like folded a certain way so you can see.
Yeah.
They had the Frank Miller Superman shirt, which I am now wearing, and the way it looked was that people had pulled it out to look at it and just threw it on top, like, get the fuck out of here. And so I looked over and I was like, they had this on a fucking T-shirt. It's a picture of Superman and the Atom, and Superman. Frank Miller clearly drew the outline on the red trunks of Superman's dick, and so I was like, shit, do I want this? And in the back of my head, I already made up my answer. But right before I made my I was like, you know, they have so much cool stuff for the T-shirt, like inside the T-shirt tower and outside. But they had 2 Judge Dredd shirts. One of them was like a cadet shirt that had like the badge of Judge Dredd that just said Dredd. I was like, that's kind of cool, like a little bit cool, like pajama shirt or something like that. And they had a big one. They all, they had like a jock cover for the Dredd sequel comic they did, which is a classic image. And then they also had this fucking giant picture of Dredd from the comics. It just said, "I'm the law," and I held it up. My dad was like, "Ha ha, I'm the law!" Like, he just thought that was funny. But I was like, I own a Judge Dredd shirt. I don't own a picture of Superman's dick on it. So I was like, I bought that. And I remember I went over there, and again, like, you know, the people didn't say this out loud, but they looked at me like, yeah, what are you doing?
You can see the penis,
Yeah, you
right?
can see his dick. Excuse me.
Is that why you want the shirt?
Yeah. It's like,
Jake's
kind of.
just like,
Yeah. I mean, I already have constipated fat bat. Give me Dick Superman. And so when I walked here to your house today, Chris, and I swear, you know, you didn't see it, but I guarantee
the
you.
studio, sir.
Yeah, seriously,
you walked
sorry.
to the studio.
Sorry. And so it looked like that scene in Man of Steel, like the Wild West stuff, where like people just pulling their kids into the house and shutting the door because it's just idiot listening to Dream Theater, walking around with Superman dick on a T-shirt. And again, it's like not that bad. Like, honestly, when I first saw the image, I didn't even notice it until I saw an article that was like, DC lets Frank Miller draw Superman's dick. Anyway,
I have a issue of Chris Samney's Daredevil where he clearly has, like, maybe it's just the shadow and the lighting, but
that was Superman's dick.
that's like the magical cue.
Yeah. Dicks.
You see, like, he's fighting Stiltman or something, and he has a massive erection.
Oh, nice. There's also that Spider-Man Reign issue where you see Peter Parker's cock and balls. I was trying to think of a different way to say it. Anyway, I met Neil Adams. He signed my Rocketeer 3D comic, and he looked at it like, huh?
Like, I did this?
I did this? No, he just was like, and then he's like, this is the most recognizable signature in the world.
Is it, though?
No. And then my dad, it's funny because like there was a little tiny one up there, if you know, that to say, hey, this is Neil Adams' cover. He just did the cover, I think, for the Rocketeer in 3D comic, which I love. So that was cool. And my dad got a cool Neil Adams Dark Knight 3 variant cover. We met a couple other people. My dad really wanted to meet Charles Soule because of the Daredevil stuff. And he talked about Daredevil a little bit. And
He was next to Greg Pak.
yeah. And just bought a shit fuckload of Frank Miller stuff. Like, when my dad bought Watchmen, the one thing I wanted, and I can't believe I got, was the Dark Knight Strikes Again, complete 3 books, you know, whatever. And it was $10. It was $20 normally. It was $10. And so I went up to buy it, and again, the guy kind of looked at me like, you know, this is the Dark Knight Strikes Again, not the Dark Knight Returns. I was like, I got that shit already. I want this. Can't stop coughing. But I
because of how much you want it.
yeah, and so I got that, and I was like, this is so fucking sweet. I got a bunch of Born Again, half of Batman Year One, the Frank Miller, David Gibbons miniseries, Liberty, the Martha Washington Saves the World book, which was something I've never read. I remember when I handed it to the guy gave me this look of like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, he was like, I mean, my dad even...
The only person that was excited.
Well,
that
my dad,
you
like,
were
we were walking away, my dad was just like, yeah, that guy seemed like he was like really psyched you were buying that book. I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I probably have been trying to move it for months.
Yeah,
years.
well, it's funny. It's on the list of 10 Frank Miller books that aren't Batman or Daredevil, like his best. And it was on there like, hey, fucking read this book, and I've never read it. And like Sam pointed out many episodes ago, as much as Frank Miller, I've never read Sin City, and so I'm going through Sin City right now. Reading Volume 1 right now to complete the Frank Millerisms. There was a great moment where my dad got pointed out by a random guy. Basically what happened was a guy.
Are you Greg Bozek?
Yeah, a guy at the what's funny, you say that because was it Paulo Rivera, the great artist?
Yeah.
His dad is an artist as well, and his dad was there, Joe Rivera, and he had actually, funny enough, Paulo is the seasoned veteran. The dad has only been an inker for like 5 years. He's draws custom motorcycles and stuff. And we talked to him a lot. My dad went back to the booth just to talk to him. And Joe Rivera was a recent grandfather. My dad's a recent grandfather. And so they took a picture together, and I sent it to Paulo Rivera, and I was like, "My dad met your dad." He was like, "That's awesome." But he was a really nice guy. My dad got a really great Electra print that he did. My dad loves Electra and stuff. My dad had his little like handwritten notes. I had it on my phone, but he had his handwritten notes of all the Frank Miller. He's almost got every Frank Miller issue of Daredevil now. And so anyway, so we were waiting at the Charles Soule table, and Charles Soule was not there yet. And so he had like a guy there working at kind of getting stuff ready and had stuff out. Picked up a really cool image book that isn't out yet that I'll have to let you know. It's Breaking Bad meets Dungeons and Dragons, I think is how they did it. Breaking Bad meets Lord of the Rings. The guy sells magic like meth. Anyway, and I can't remember the name of the title. I am sorry.
Do you know who the creator is?
Charles Soule.
Oh.
And
is you sure it's an image book?
Yep. It's not out yet, but I remember when he picked it up.
Oh yeah, I was talking to him about that.
Yeah.
You'll find.
Yeah. And so anyway, my dad has it, and I'll have to check it out, and it sounded pretty hilarious and awesome. Anyway, before Charles Soule got there, he was like talking to this helper guy was talking to somebody else, and he was like, "Hey, you should check out this Daredevil. This Daredevil's really good." And he pointed at my dad, and he's like, "This guy knows. This guy gets it," because my dad was wearing a Daredevil shirt, and I think it was the first time ever in my dad's short comic book fandom life that he'd been pointed out as a fan of something. You know what I mean? So like he had this like this step to him, like, "That's right. I fucking love Daredevil. That's right. That's right."
He's Mr. Daredevil.
Mr. Double D.
You should just get him a Daredevil shirt.
I did. Well, he was wearing a Daredevil like pull up, like a nice little zip up thing. I got him for his birthday a little while ago.
Get him the ninja Daredevil.
Oh yeah, the Frank Miller. I told him because I had rereading a bunch of Frank Miller stuff, obviously, and one of them was Batman Year One. So we watched the animated film together, which he hadn't seen, and I told him he should have shaved his goatee and just had the mustache and came as Jim Gordon. But he'll never ever do that. I think that's still too far down the line for him. But it was a good time. I mean, Sunday was
I love Baltimore.
Was a great time. Just got a bunch of great comics. Spent a lot of money that I didn't have. But I basically have almost a long box full of just Frank Miller single issue stuff now, and he's the creator that I've just zeroed in on as being one of my favorites and most influential, and through the good and the bad. Like I said, I own a fucking shirt that is Superman's dick, so I love the guy, and I hope to see. I can't wait to see how The Dark Knight 3 ends, and what he does next.
Maybe he'll be in New York.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. And
he was there last year.
He seems to be doing a lot better health wise as well. All the interviews I've seen. Yeah. And I remember we were lucky enough. One of my favorite moments of the Eisners was we got to see. Unfortunately, he wasn't there, but Frank Miller got inducted into like the Hall of Fame, and Jim Lee
accepted on his
behalf and talked about he's doing well. And then I saw the picture where he gave it to Frank Miller, like in his office. Frank Miller was like, "Yeah," and Frank Miller's like the Iron Maiden of comics in the sense that he wears Dark Knight Returns shirts, which is like with a blazer, which is I think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Wear your own creation.
Why not? Why not? I mean, I don't know if he's gonna be wearing the Superman shirt anytime soon.
You should give him one.
Oh my god, I want to see a picture of the two of you wearing it.
If he was if he was there, I would love to just walk up and be like, "Oh," and just like a picture snapshot of
remember
us.
this?
Like, hey, look at this. You like this?
I like that dick.
Yeah, but so like I said, it was cool, and I my goal is to have all the.
You run into anybody we've had on the show?
No, I mean I saw Justin Jordan from afar and John Layman as well.
Did you see Williamson?
No,
Josh Williamson. Yeah, no. Mouth or Trad Moore.
No.
Or I know John McCrae was there.
Yeah, I know, and I saw that was way too late. Unfortunately, obviously Mark Wade has not been on the show, but he had to cancel Sunday, unfortunately, do some like emergency stuff. So I hope that's all good on his end. But otherwise, it was a really fun time. Like I said, we all love Baltimore Comic Con. All the experiences we ever had. That's the first con I ever really went to a couple years ago. Chris hates Baltimore Comic Con, but
I mean, I just hate Baltimore in general. I've never been to Baltimore Comic Con, so
okay.
I have no opinion on.
And the Yankees were in town, so we had to make sure to get out of there just in time because the traffic would have been crazy.
Crazy good.
that was good. No, you talk about other things you do. I'll talk about.
Well,
something
you guys saw Hell or High Water since the last episode.
Shit! There's another movie I saw too. I want to talk about. But Chris, talk about Hell or High Water first. I'm talking too much. I'm talking too much.
Yeah, we saw Hell or High Water. It was upon Sam's very strong suggestion. Yeah, glowing recommendation.
Yeah. Fluorescent.
Yeah, day glow. Yeah. It was like the 80s up in that bitch. As Sam pulls up a picture of Chris Pine.
So that picture of Chris Pine, you're like, what is he even doing? I feel like this is what I think. And guys, you'll have to look at any of our look at any of our Facebooks or Twitter. We've posted about it. I'll post it a bunch of times later. It's a picture. Sam and I love to find weird pictures of celebrities. Not anybody, but it's pretty much
easier for celebrities.
It's easy for celebrities. It's easy for us too. Just take one. But for celebrities, and it's not risque or anything. It's just weird things you never would fucking imagine. So I found one of Chris Pine where he's looking very kind of humble.
I don't know what he's doing.
But what I feel like it's
like a duck face almost.
It's like he just ripped a huge fucking fart and then he turned around and realized there's a camera there and was like, And I'm pretty sure it's at the Hell or High Water premiere because I think it says Hell or High Water on the back. Yeah. Now, the movie though, the movie's fucking great. I think the movie's fantastic. I put it in my top 5. That's what I would do. How about you?
That's my review.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it's
no, I just think it's funny that it started out with me trying to say how much I liked it and just went into Chris Pine.
Oh, that picture. Yeah, I mean that picture.
But no, yeah, I agree. It's a very, very well made movie. The cinematography is really on point. The storytelling is great. I love just the general flow of it. I feel like Ben Foster really got lost in his role. I know Jake and I kind of disagree. I think.
Well, he definitely got lost in it. That was my least favorite.
We disagree on how effective that was. I think that he was the most believable Jeff Bridges. Jeff Bridges, hands down.
Yeah.
The post old man Jeff Bridges needs to always be a Texas police ranger something. Cop, lawman of some sort, but I thought that Ben Foster was very believable in his role, which is saying something because we've all seen Ben Foster playing several different types of actually mostly just one type, and then it varies from whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, but all kind of the same type of person. Then to see him being like a Texas fuck up, it was an interesting portrayal of what he brought to it was really cool. And Chris Pine did a great job. Eyes not nearly as blue as they are in Star Trek, which just adds credence to my claim that J.J. Abrams digitally enhanced the blueness. I don't think anyone fought me on that.
No, and I think they're just using earthier tones and
that too,
and filters with the
yeah. No, I totally agree. The whole idea of the movie is the well is dry, and that's the whole motivation. That's
small town Texas is dying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not a complicated movie.
Yeah, it's our buddy Vernon was talking. He was like, yeah, it's not a subtle movie at all. It's like they don't all have to be.
No,
in fact, it's really not a requirement. That's it's does it have birds?
Yeah,
and that it's not immediately followed by is it subtle?
Yeah. I think there was spiritual birds in there.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
But no, I mean,
Ben Foster's a free bird, and a free bird you cannot change.
Yeah, for me, in many ways, yes. I think for me the emotional core of the film though is Chris Pine.
For sure.
Yeah, Chris Pine. I really like, Bridges a lot. I think we all like Bridges. That's not a fucking new thing, but
I'm a big fan of driving over bridges.
I think he should in a perfect world I think he'd get nominated for an Oscar, supporting Oscar for this one. I think he's strong enough for it. There's a couple moments that feel really real in the least film douchey way possible. And yeah, the cinematography, the performances, the characters, simple story, makes simple films, and sometimes those are the best. And I think it was fantastic.
At its heart, it's just a father trying to provide for his family, and goes about it in a illegal way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really heartfelt.
Also, Bridges is a man trying to outrun time. You know,
he doesn't want to retire without one last. Even in retirement,
I mean, he feels meaningless without it. There's a I won't go into it because this is something I don't want to spoil for anybody. But there's just a couple of real powerful moments in it, and there's some really great comedy in there as well. Definitely just really
it's the sense of humor that keeps it from being a slog.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if it wasn't for the sense of humor and just the chemistry, and it's not like forced sense of humor either. It's just natural. Just guys being funny and sitting in a car driving around. Both sides.
Both pairs have good chemistry.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
100%.
It's a set of brothers. Be as misfitted as they are. It's two brothers bonding over brotherly love and hate.
Yeah. There's some friction there, sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I guess friction's better than hate.
Yeah. God, I don't know about you and your brothers, man. I'm not looking to comment. But you also saw Don't Breathe.
I did. I've been looking forward to this one for a long time. I'm a big fan of Fede Alvarez, and especially when he teams up with Jane Levy, which would be the two movies he's done. And because Jane Levy's got all kinds of range, from Suburgatory to Evil Dead, and it's what was the name of that horror movie about the girl who's deaf?
Wait Until Dark? No, that's Blind.
Christ, I just watched it too. It's got Jim from Newsroom in there.
Oh, well, she's not deaf, but there's 10 Cloverfield Lane.
No, shit, I can't remember it. I'll figure it out. But anyway, there's a lot of elements of that in there, which I think is really cool. But of course, we're dealing with a character who's more seen as the villain, who is the villain in my opinion, who's blind. And it deals with these three kids, breaking into the house, trying to get money. And again, it's very similar to Hell or High Water, where they're trying to get out of this town. Jane Levy's in a real bad spot with her, really drug addict, alcoholic mom and boyfriend, and she wants to get her sister out of there and move to California. So they're thrown in the situation where if they can get this money, they can start over and get out of there. And did you find it out, Chris? Hush. Thank you, of course. Hush. That's a great movie too. But it's brutal, man. And, I just kept thinking to myself over and over again. It's the horror home run. It's not something that deals with jump scares. So much of what I love about a good scare or feeling, that prickly goosebump feeling in a horror movie, a lot of times can be done without any music or sound, and a jump scare just looks silly without that. So without the sound. But this movie, it's dealing with a blind guy, so much of it is silence. And it's it's an hour and 28 minutes, so they jump into the house. They just enough backstory to get you to know about all the characters and motivations, and then boom, you're in the house. And boy, man, every little sound, every little creak, every little turn, and they do a really good job as well. Like I could feel people in the audience going like, why wouldn't they just go out this window? Well, they explain why you can't go out the window. Or why wouldn't you just go through this door? He explains why you can't do this door. Or why this guy, again, he definitely has some heightened senses in this, not superhuman like Daredevil or anything, but he goes out of his way. There's a great scene where he's trying to figure out how many people are in the house, and he's reaching down and he feels a pair of shoes, and he's feeling around. He fears a second pair of shoes. And then he madly feels a third pair, and he fucking freaks out because now he knows there's two people in the house, not just the one guy. That if you've seen the trailer, you know what happens. But again, it's got some brutal stuff in it. It's nowhere near as brutal and graphic as Evil Dead. Evil Dead goes for the jugular. This movie is more about the atmosphere that Fede Alvarez, I think, really wonderfully paints. Horrifyingly paints as well. Jane Levy gives, man, does he put her through the ringer. I remember in the Evil Dead DVD, there's a, Jane Levy has like an on-set diary that's like 9 or 10 minutes talking about her day. And I think at one point she shuts it off because she's just had a super traumatic moment filming one of the scenes and just is exhausted. And, Fede obviously, trusts her, and they have this trust together because, Evil Dead could have been a 30-day shoot with CGI, and instead they made it an 80-day shoot with practical effects. And so they put just absolutely through the ringer. And again, she gets just totally, thrown around in this movie. But is a trooper. You root for the whole movie, and it's what I wanted. It's a great horror movie, you know, and I really hope Fede and Jane Levy team up for not even another horror movie, just another movie. You know, I like the way that they their chemistry together really works, and he definitely found his movie muse in Jane Levy, I think.
I got to see Pee-wee's Big Adventure on the big screen.
Nice.
To take it a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Which was really cool because I grew up on Pee-wee. You know, that was one of the things I watched. You know, every Saturday I watched Pee-wee's Playhouse, and you know, it was all about Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Big Top Pee-wee. There's wonderful, you know, recordings of me and Jake talking about Pee-wee's Big Holiday when it came out.
Yeah, Joe Manganiello.
Yeah. By the way, I saw a great shirt. I don't know. I can't remember if I sent it to you or not, but it was just a like a drawing of Joe Manganiello and Pee-wee like on a bike.
Yeah. By the way, I'm pretty positive Joe Manganiello's Deathstroke. You know, like that's the rumor going around.
That's there's a lot of credence there. There's a lot of supporting evidence.
Here's the big thing. I follow him on Twitter. He's got a high and tight haircut right now and a goatee.
And he's in London where they're filming.
Well, okay, that would be a good one too. But like, you know, if anyone knows anything about, you know,
and right before that test footage leaked or was released,
no, it was straight up released.
He started following Zack Snyder.
Oh, fuck!
Which
what are you
means
following Zack Snyder for?
He's probably going to cameo or have a small supporting role in Justice League, and probably, I mean, again, this is all speculation on my part. Probably then show up again in Batman.
I hope he's the main villain in Batman because he's a guy.
It'd be nice to not see the Joker.
Well, yeah, but he's
especially the Joker we got.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
yeah. But he's one of the
not
guys
the Joker
that, like,
we wanted, but it's the Joker we deserved.
I straight up, you know, in a hand-to-hand fight, I believe Deathstroke could just fuck up Batman.
He could fuck Batman.
Up Batman bad.
Well, he's got superhuman abilities that Batman doesn't have.
That's true, but Batman is he's like 90%.
I don't know shit about
90% of his brain. The worst dad in comics, and also like, you know, I think he's a fucking cool guy. They're never gonna do the fucking fish scale Marv Wolfman 80s Teen Titans outfit, which would be the greatest thing in the world. Those giant boots, but
I mean, they were made for walking.
I saw a picture of him from one of the video games where he's looking down the scope with his non-existent eye, and I'm like, how? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Also, you know, there's a great thing about Deathstroke where, like, I forgot what comic it was I was reading. They were like, you know, you're fucked when you go against the guy who flaunts the fact that he has one eye missing, like that handicap. Where he's like, good,
yeah,
come at me.
Yeah. Do you think you stand a better chance?
Yeah, he'll fuck you up. But anyway, sorry, Chris. I saw the Joe Manganiello thing, and I was like, dude, I hope he's Deathstroke. I fucking hope he's Deathstroke, man, so bad. And I hope he's in another Pee-wee movie. Yeah. I hope he is the new Pee-wee.
That would be great. Him in Pee-wee's outfit was wonderful.
When you sent me that, I was like, now I have to watch this. Because I remember hearing about it, and I was like, yeah, maybe I'll get around to it on Netflix. But you sent me like those 2 snaps of like that dream they had.
Yeah.
With like the fireworks, and he's like, yeah, and doing the dance, and I was like, okay, I did, and I sat and watched the whole thing, and it was pretty dang funny.
But yeah, so it was really cool getting a chance to see it on the big screen, and it was at the Alamo, and it was one of their movie parties, so we got props too. Everyone got a red bow tie. Everyone got a little like souvenir box of legally safe knockoff Mr. T cereal because it's an actual thing.
That's what kicked off the Burton month, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Alamo's doing Septemberton, which I think should have been Septimburton, but you know,
whatever.
I'm not marketing.
Not like you work for him or anything.
Yeah.
But
yeah. So that was pretty magical. And then because of that, Jake and I are going to go see Batman 89 again.
Yeah, not only do I finally get to see Batman 89 in theaters, I'm going to see it twice in the same year.
Yeah. And we're going to see Bat Dance.
Oh, fuck yeah.
On the big screen.
The main thing, besides that, is the fucking sound. I can't wait to hear Batman, like, just open the battery and the click, you know, and just from the beginning. And even when we saw it in the rave cinema when the Danny Elfman score started, I was like, oh shit,
I got goosebumps there.
But just to see him punch punks in the mouth, it's going to be pretty dang cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah. But yeah, so that was fun. It was a fun happenstance. Everyone also got oversized toothbrushes too.
Nice.
I don't go to the Alamo a lot because it's all the way fucking out in Ashburn.
Yeah, it's been. I mean, the last time I was there for anything was.
Yeah, it's got to be like a special event.
Yeah.
Like, I think the last time I was there.
That's why I try to message you for like every special event that they do.
Yeah, but I mean, like like.
But yeah, no, I get it. Yeah,
yeah, like a fucking there. It has to like strike a fucking chord, like huge chord, like a power chord.
Like when they're doing Superman at the end of the month.
Yeah, if it was Superman Returns, maybe.
But I mean, you've seen Superman Returns.
I've seen all of those movies.
But in theaters, I'm saying. Like, you've seen Superman Returns in theaters.
I did. I saw it like twice.
So.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's got to be a big fucking deal.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
What's like off the top of your head, what's something they were like, they're playing this, you'd be like, I'm fucking in.
Sing Street.
Well,
again, he's seen that in theaters.
If it's going to be a nostalgic film, there has to be a lot going on there.
They're playing High Noon. I know you like westerns.
I do like High Noon. It's not like in my top 5 westerns, but it's. I mean, and especially the problem with the nostalgic stuff is it's always in the middle of the fucking week.
Mm-hmm. They wanted to get the original Magnificent Seven, but because the new one's coming out, it was hard to license.
Yeah, that's a fun one. That's that would be.
What about if they did like Blues Brothers?
Ooh, or Blues Brothers 2000?
What if they did Blues Brothers?
So basically, it would be just you.
Yeah, I saw Blues Brothers 2000 in theaters. Yeah, back in '98, which always bugged me as a kid because it's like, but it's not 2000 yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like, what are you fucking doing?
Yeah, just call Blues Brothers 2. God damn it. No, I mean Blues Brothers would be. I remember I saw it at Fairfax Corner. They had because they.
Oh
used
yeah,
to,
that's right. Yeah,
I haven't seen them do the summer series lately.
I mean,
that's where we saw Batman.
Batman, but I mean, like, they're not really advertising. Like, I remember before the movies, like before some
and they
movie
wonder why only five people showed up for Batman.
Before Hell or High Water, they have like little intro, and they're like Cinemark, and they have like classic cinema, and they show like a shot of Animal House.
They always show Animal House,
and which is great. And I'm sorry I missed it, but like that's not in theater. Like they're not doing that anymore.
Angelica used to do it every Friday and Saturday. You used to be able to get like Alien. or something.
Alien. That's when
Big Trouble in Little China. Are they
see.
going to have Big Trouble in Little China? Have they already had Big Trouble in Little China?
Not that I'm aware of at the Mo.
At the Mao, I love that stuff because I mean I've taken advantage of. And again, I'm closer. I mean, I'm far away, but Sam's like
you're just
farther
as far
away.
as Chris is.
Yeah, but Sam's even farther away.
I mean, technically, he's like a minute closer.
Yeah.
But yeah,
but I Lethal Weapon, Akira, and what the Batman '89.
North by Northwest, I would catch on the big
Okay.
screen. Lawrence of Arabia, I would catch on the big screen.
Did I know? Did we see? We saw Lawrence of
We
Arabia.
saw
Okay.
Lawrence of Arabia together.
Okay, yeah, on the 50th anniversary.
Yes, we did.
What about if they did like Goldfinger?
There's only.
Well, I mean, if they did Honor Majesty's Secret Service,
well,
you'd have to.
Yeah.
It's also George Lazenby's birthday today.
Ooh,
So on
happy
the
birthday,
official
George.
007.
Happy birthday, Georgie.
Yeah. And
What if
Freddie-
they did Moonraker?
That's tough. There's only but so many.
Moonraker.
Or Never Say Never Again.
No, just
No.
straight off.
I'd
But,
hear the theme and then be like, fine, and then walk off into the
Yeah.
sunset and get hit by a
just
car.
Yeah. Do you want to give him the context on Moonraker?
Yeah, sure.
Or do
I
you
love
wanna
this
just
story.
Let him, like,
no,
sit?
I fucking love this story. So real quick, Samuel Warren Stone was drunk as a skunk, and
It was like my birthday, like 2 years ago.
yeah, it was unbelievable. And so we walked inside, and Sam goes, "Gentlemen, make like you did this fucking like Alfred Butler routine."
Well, I knew that I was standing on my last legs.
Yeah, and so you were just like, I mean, I don't even know how you remember that you knew you did that, but you were just like, "Gentlemen, make yourself at home. There's food here, blah blah blah. Video games are in the pantry. I'm gonna go vomit my lungs out. I will see you later." And then they went to the bathroom, and then me and a couple of the buddies checked on me so often, and we do the thing, you knock on the door, and you go, "Yeah, what's up?" And like you clearly have just been vomiting, just nonstop. Anyway, our plan was to like play.
He played Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and
Injustice.
because that had just come out.
And then watch Moonraker for some reason. I remember we were driving home. We were all feeling pretty good. And we were going to go to McDonald's, and we were like...
We went to McDonald's.
No, we did. Yeah, we did. I mean, that was the plan. We were going to watch Moonraker. We were going to go to McDonald's. And Sam, it's a audio thing, but like he'll do this thing. I was talking about it at San Diego Comic-Con too with our friends who were out there, like stages of Sam Stone, like drunkenness. One of the things you do is like you arch your finger and you slam it down on the ground or whatever you're doing as your way of like almost the gavel, like we're going to do that. So you're like, we're going to watch Moonraker, I'm gonna eat the shit out of some McChicken nuggets, and I'm gonna vomit my face off. And so,
the chicken nuggets.
yeah, and so he got him and ate like 3, and the next day they were all gone because somebody ate them. It wasn't me, I swear to God.
You guys got like 2 or 3 like of the 20 packs. I was like, surely there'll be at least a couple left.
There was none, and I don't like the chicken McNuggets that much, so it definitely wasn't me. I had like 2 double cheeseburgers or something like that, and anyway, so we were getting to the Moonraker part, and like we put it on. We were all tired, like everyone was falling asleep or went home, and for some reason, nondescript John, who's tall, way taller than me, he's
like 6'4".
And I remember going like, "What, John? You want to?" He's like, "No." He chose the smaller couch to sleep on.
He sat on the love seat,
and
slept on the love seat.
Yeah, and I slept on the couch that fit me.
Just
like
behind, like there's like an extra half cushion.
Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, and so, John, you want to snuggle? And so we put the movie on, and I like the intro of that movie pretty much. is pretty dang good. And Jaws and Bond jumping out of a plane. So I was like, I'm going to turn my back to this and let it play. Little did I remember, that movie is loud as fuck. And maybe it's because I was just like not drunk anymore, but Jesus God, that movie's loud. And it's not because it was turned up loud. It's just a fucking loud ass movie. Shit's crashing everywhere. When he fights that ninja and just everything's breaking with the glass.
Worst ninja in the world.
Oh my God.
Because before every strike he screams.
Yeah.
And even when he gets the jump on Bond like twice, he screams to like announce his presence, and it's like, well, there's the element of surprise.
Yep. Anyway, so in the middle of it, Sam's walking, like you hear the door like and like,
like Dracula.
Yeah, and Sam just drags his feet and just slithers across the floor, and as he's walking the stairs, it's like, think of that scene, if we're talking about Batman 89, where the Joker's going up the stairs, laughing, see what I have to work with here, and he smashes the light, and he's laughing. That's what happened without the laughing, but Sam went, ooh, Moonraker, and then went upstairs, we didn't hear a word from him. And then the next morning,
I passed out in the upstairs bathroom.
We ordered I think we ordered a pizza that next morning, because we got
Papa
some
John's.
Fucking, like, dank pizza. Like, we were,
again,
we
Papa
were feeling
John's.
it. It was good. I mean, like we got like all like chicken, like steak, all kinds of stuff on it. It was good. And then I think we finished Moonraker, and then I went home. I dropped David off at the Metro.
Yep.
Went home, turned on the TV, and Moonraker was on. I remember texting you. I was like, "It's fucking on TV."
Can't
I
escape.
think you might have just texted back like, Moonraker. So anyway, that's why forever and ever you'll probably hear us say Moonraker.
Ooh. Yeah. I didn't watch Moonraker since the last episode. What did I do? I went to the beach. I went to the Outer Banks. And it was like Tropical Storm or Hurricane Hermine, which for the longest time I was like, are they just misspelling Hermione? But no, it's Hermine.
I was like, oh, is it Hermione? And someone at work was like, it's Hermine. It is Hermine. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It killed her family.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, so I drove in that shit. I had to fix my radiator too, because that shit almost like, you know how there's the heat gauge on your temperature gauge on your like display.
Oh yeah, I had to get mine. I had to get a new one.
Yeah, it was in the red.
Yeah,
like I was on 64, and I was like, well, we're pulling over, and I had to like patch it up and refill the coolant because it was running bone dry.
Yeah,
which when you're
did you just have coolant handy, or were you able to like go?
They
to
sold it at like gas stations.
Oh, I mean, I figured. I didn't know if you were just like on the side of the road.
Yeah.
You just left it open and let the rain pour in.
Yeah, the epoxy was the hard part, but you can get that at any Home Depot, a good metal epoxy. But the 2-part, you mix it together and then you stick it on. But so I did that and hung out, and like at that point the beach had basically eroded or been washed away, because the water just went right up to the dunes. And it was a good surf, but it was the kind where you get like a really good lift and then it just crashes you down into the fucking ground. So if you're not prepared, you're just like laying there like
dead.
Breathless. Yeah, dead. I'm sure there's people that, anyway. But hey, I love being in the ocean. I don't do it nearly enough. You were talking earlier about going to like seafood restaurants and not actually getting seafood. I got a steak.
Yeah.
I gotta stay.
Because there's nothing better than steak.
Yeah, there's that Orleans Steakhouse experience. So whenever I'm in a place like, do you have steak? That's not true at all. I don't get steak at IHOP.
Don't.
Yeah. No. Don't get the ribs.
Yeah. I like ribs, but
I would recommend against the ribs at IHOP. It's like getting the McRib and expecting it to be ribs.
Once, me and my buddies, like in high school, like every Friday after we would go to IHOP, and kind of like as a celebration to the end of another week of class, like during our senior year. And once one of my buddies was like, you know what? I really want some seafood. And so he got the seafood combo at IHOP and threw up.
Was that the first thing on his mind was when seafood came to him? Was it IHOP?
I guess. Well, we were all sitting there, and we're just going through the menu. I usually stick to like maybe a handful of standbys, but he was just all about it. He was just like, seafood combo. And I was just like, dude, like they probably never used
Playing
this.
with fire.
Yeah. And he kind of knew, but once he saw it, he was just like, seafood combo. And then he threw up.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Yeah. So, I mean, other than that, I mean, it was, from here to the Outer Banks, it's like a 5.5 hour drive. And going down, apart from, the radiator almost blowing up in the fucking hurricane, it wasn't too bad. But going up, it's Labor Day traffic. It was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Especially around like Fredericksburg in the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel.
Oh, it's always rough around Fredericksburg.
Yeah. I actually took Route 1 to kind of like bypass it.
Yeah.
So, which was still...
Good call.
Yeah. Yeah, still took like 6 hours, but it wasn't too bad. So, yeah, that's all I got.
There's always a sound from you now, dude.
Yeah.
My radiator cracked a little while ago. I had to get it fixed, and I remember I was like, I didn't have the
crack an egg in
really
it.
didn't want to. I really didn't want to spend the money on it. I was like, come on, can I come back? He's like, dude, you'll fucking explode. And I was like, all right.
So there's like always that moment, like when they tell you, like, because I had something with my serpentine belt last year, and there was that moment where they're like, this is going to happen, and I'm still like, well, I just kind of roll the dice, or maybe I'll just die.
I've had a good life.
Yeah, it's been a good run. I don't really want to shell out like $300 to $400.
You know what's terrible? Student debt.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's just end it all.
Yeah. Having said that, I still I have a serpentine belt to replace my current serpentine belt. Still haven't done it yet. It's not a hard fix either.
Not if you got small enough arms to get around your engine.
Ta-da!
Yeah. Which is to say, I don't.
Yeah.
I can't. I need someone else to do it for me.
Yeah.
I
talk to John. He's a great mechanic. He's better than
he's
me.
got them skinny arms.
Yeah, long skinny arms.
Yeah. No, he'd probably be great.
He's actually taking auto tech classes. I just kind of like peek over his shoulder and like, oh, that's how that works. Okay.
I did replace my headlights. Speaking of working on cars,
there you go.
Yeah, which was hard enough for me because of my hands.
And you have to be careful not to touch the bulbs.
Yeah, because the oil from your hands will heat up and melt the glass and explode the bulbs.
Yeah, the filament.
Yeah. I've not because I needed them replaced. I just got tired of how dim my stock headlights were. So I actually went shopping around and found like things that were advertised as super bright headlights, but not being those like annoying like blue headlights that shine right in your eyes no matter what angle you're looking at the car. Yeah. Because those are expensive.
They are.
And they're annoying as fuck.
Yeah, the halogen bulbs.
Yeah. No, so I just the what is it? Sylvania has like 3 different grades of bulbs that you can put in your headlights, and I was like, okay, let's try mid-grade because that's not terribly expensive, but it says that it's brighter and angles more down, which was another problem that I had with my headlights. It just was kind of like forward, and I was like, no, I need to be able to see the road, not what's ahead of me in a tenth of a mile. Like that's important too, but I also need to see what's right in front of me. Yeah. So, but so far they seem to be doing all right. We'll see how they fare once we have a late night rainstorm, because that was always the worst.
And the big thing that I find, like with my experience, like replacing like my headlights and all that, when you get a new battery, that sudden surge of power, sometimes, especially if they're older bulbs. Yeah, they can overload and short them out.
Yeah.
So I don't know how old your car battery is, but that's something to keep in mind.
Good to know.
Yeah. So you got anything, Jake?
Yeah, Jake, you work on your car too?
No. I don't do that. I don't care.
You're not a man.
I don't care. Yeah. I get my man card from just watching He-Man. That's what I do.
And Conan. And your testosterone, what was it?
He-Man.
Testosterone Jack.
And
you had a name for it.
The Trinity of Masculinity.
Yeah,
which actually happened a year ago today.
The
He-Man, Conan, and Hercules movies. I watched all 3
Hercules Man.
Yeah,
Hercules Man,
the greatest Mega Man villain of them all.
He-Man and Conan Man. Shit! I wanted to say this real quick. I'm sorry. Baltimore Comic Con. I met the guys who work on Dick Tracy and I had him sign a print. And this is fucking cool. And this is the moment I was trying to remember, and I couldn't remember the whole show. Joe Stanton, who draws Dick Tracy, was there. And he was signing it. And he's just this sweet old man. And he had next to him this little poster that said, coming 2017, Dick Tracy meets the Spirit. And so they're going to do a Dick Tracy Spirit comic book, which is fucking awesome. And I kept telling him that over and over again. And I remember when I looked at him and I had all of them signed, the three of them there signed this little print. I looked at him and I was like, I cannot wait for Dick Tracy meets the Spirit. That's just it's perfect. It's like, why hasn't it happened before? And it's the great little thing he drew was Dick Tracy's hat, yellow fedora with the wrist radio, and the Spirit's blue hat with the blue mask. And I think early 2017. And when I said that, he looked at me with this like wonderful look in his face. Like, and again, I'm projecting all these things, but like, I mean, there wasn't a lot of people going to his booth. It was a pretty, a lot of other people doing other things. And just, I don't know, I don't know if it was just to see this like younger guy like come up to him and say like, I can't wait to see Dick Tracy in the Spirit. Like, just filled this dude with such like happiness. Like, it was this really nice little moment.
You just added
between
5 years to his life.
Between the two of them, and then he went out and he went, Snake Eyes, and we fist pumped. No, but no, it was really cool just to talk to him just for a little bit.
He listens to the show.
Yeah, and he was sitting there and he was just drawing a picture of Dick Tracy, and just that the most famous profile in comics, and it just I'm glad. I can't wait to see what's going to come about that. So my dad bought this little like mini poster of it, and I bought. They took the Sundays, the Dick Tracy comics from that would appear in the Sunday paper, colorized them and put them in a nice little print, and I got them all to sign that. And that was really, really cool. So that was something I was trying to remember the whole show. I couldn't remember what the interaction was, and I'm glad I could. And I'm like I said, look for that in 2017. Those are two of the all-time greats coming together to hang out. They did the Spirit and Rocketeer already, the Pulp Friction stuff. So can't wait.
I'm speaking of conventions and meeting people. I'm very tempted to. They released the tentative pricings for photo ops and autographs. I'm very tempted to do Stan Lee autograph. It's $100 for an autograph or $100 for a photo op, and I assume $200 for both. And that's rather pricey, but it is Stan Lee, and it is going to be his last planned appearance at a convention,
at least New York.
Yeah. Sorry. So like, I kind of want to do it. And you talking about Dick Tracy reminded me. Yeah. I think I might be that guy and get my Laserdisc of Mallrats signed by him.
Yeah, go for it. I mean,
he does appear in it.
Whoever said don't meet your heroes probably had shitty heroes, because I've had a lot of good experiences.
Yeah.
With
arguably my only negative experience was Adam West and Burt Ward. Yeah. As you can listen to on episode 100.
Yeah. Let's just chalk that one up to senility.
Yeah. And that's why I said, that's why I didn't like outright say my only bad experience. Yeah. And also it ended up being a good story.
Yeah, definitely. Immortalized on the show, as you were saying.
Yeah. And on my Laserdisc.
Yeah. I would love to meet Karen Gillan.
She's going to be at New York?
Oh, I know. I know. Yeah.
I believe she was at Baltimore.
Was she at Baltimore?
Was she?
No.
No?
I mean, I didn't see her. Again, I was only there Sunday.
And you didn't see everyone, Jake?
No, I didn't care. I didn't give a shit. I want to meet Melissa Benoist. If we're just naming people.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's do it.
So,
do it.
Do it.
I'd like to meet
live
Christina
it.
Ricci.
Let's all end on a song. What song should we all sing to end this podcast?
The Rockestra theme.
The what?
Hey. Yeah. No. And I had no dinner. The best he goes, yeah. He goes, na. Yeah.
It's the last Wings single from the album Back to the Egg, the album that effectively broke up the band.
We literally listened to this like not an hour ago, and I still don't know what it is.
Yeah. But
it's a fucking Wings song.
Well, I mean, I gathered that.
Yeah. But kicks off Over Easy, because he named both sides of the album off of style of fried egg. But thanks again to Peter Milligan and Leandro Fernandez for coming on the show, talking about The Discipline. Remember, that's out in comic book shops everywhere on Wednesday, October 5th. Definitely check it out. Review incoming. So, yeah, it's been another installment of Catching Up. I'm Sam.
I'm Chris.
Jake,
Bye.
thank you very much.
Good night, Eric Bana.
This has been another Geek Out production. If you enjoyed what you heard, hey, we've got a new commentary every Monday. We've got a special episode every Friday. Of course, there's the usual catching up show every Wednesday. And you get book club episodes just about every Tuesday these days. Thanks for listening.